You know how with some people, they diet down, they get very, very lean, and they're able to actually maintain that stage? There is a reason they're able to do so. A lot of people, they talk about how to cut a calorie deficit, walking around, lots of steps, no liquid calories, etc. But they never actually explain the stage after the cut, when you've actually gotten down to 9 to 10% body fat. The stage that you want to actually maintain. Because at the end of the day, some guys, they cut all the way down, they do all the hard work, they maybe sit at that body fat percentage, whether it's 10 or 9% for maybe 2 weeks, and then they slowly get back up to 20, maybe back up to 17, and they're not actually able to maintain it. But again, there's a reason on how you can do it, and that is what I want to break down. So in this video, I'm going to break down the phase in regards to going from lean to maintenance that no one really talks about that much, and it will determine whether you stay lean after your cut or if you go straight back to fat. Now, for those that don't know me, my name is Teado Bryars. I've been training for the last 5.5 years, both doing MMA, running ultra marathon running, and bodybuilding that entire time, and overall doing a hybrid split. But I've also gone ahead, I've been fat as fuck, I've also gone ahead and been very, very lean. And at the end of the day, I understand how important it can be to get lean, but also maintain that aesthetic. Because a lot of guys, again, they typically go ahead, they get very lean, but then they lose all of their gains straight away. And there is a specific reason why, and that is the maintenance. How to actually maintain that physique, and understanding that it is a skill, and understanding how to actually execute that skill will be one of the reasons why you either stay lean or you go back to fat. So again, in this video, we're going to break down exactly how you can do it and the best way you can go about maintaining a lean athletic physique without going back to your old self and your old self's habits. Reason number one, the cut ends, but your brain just hasn't actually caught up. Imagine after months of hard dieting and staying in the calorie deficit, as soon as calories start to go up, your body will be primed to overeat and overindulge in those calories. And when you go through a phase when you diet, you go through a phase and you build up the habit of being constantly hungry due to being in a deficit, right? But as soon as you finish up your deficit, you get to that 10%, that 9%, that hunger will still stay with you for a very long time. And the best thing that you can do is actually manage that hunger and keep it into consideration, even when you're not being restricted with how much calories you're eating. Because a lot of guys, they'll do the cutting phase, they'll get to that body fat percentage they want, and then they will indulge into all the food that they want with all the hunger and all the momentum they built up from that hunger over the last couple months. Imagine a dam. A dam holds up so much water and there's so much pressure getting ready to break, and as soon as a crack in the dam hits, boom, all the water just flows out. Imagine that water as your self-control into not overindulging. You build up all this discipline, all this effort, all these urges to go ahead and eat good food, and then as soon as a crack in the dam breaks, you overindulge and you dive straight into it. Now, I'm a big believer in ignorance is bliss, and understanding that ignorance is, of course, bliss, but that does not mean bliss is a good state to be in. So, this first reason is just for you guys to have that clarity. Understanding that during, again, the phase where you deficit and you're in a huge cut for a very long time, you build up a lot of momentum, a lot of urges to go ahead and overindulge. But as soon as you get to that end point, having some self-control and not fully indulging into everything that you can get your hands on will be one of the best things you can do to initially get yourself set up for a successful lean to maintenance phase and actually maintain your leanness. Now, that's not me saying that you can't go and indulge in a couple of nice foods here and there. Of course, that is why you work so hard, right? You want to go and indulge in the fruits of your labor. But at the end of the day, you want to make sure that you can actually enjoy the fruits of your labor alongside some good food. So with that being said, that's reason number one. Reason number two is what you think your maintenance calories are is probably wrong. See, the maintenance calories that you had before the cut, so let's use 3,000 calories, for example, will not be the same as you post-cut. So let's just say, for example's sake, that your maintenance calories post-cut will now be 2,500 instead. This is purely because a lower body weight and a downgraded metabolism just means that your maintenance calories have dropped with those two metrics as well. And for a lot of guys, this catches them off guard. They go ahead and they start at 3,000 calories as their maintenance, they do a deficit, maybe 2,500 or so, and they continuously start dropping that down to maybe even 2,000 calories. And then by the end of their cut, they've dropped their body weight, and then also their metabolism has dropped as well. And at the end of the day, their maintenance now is 2,500 instead. So they might go back to eating at what they thought their quote unquote maintenance was, which would have been 3,000 calories. But at the end of the day, that does not line up with what their maintenance calories currently are at that stage, which would be 2,500 calories in this situation. Meaning, if they were to go back to a maintenance calorie phase on what they thought it was, they would be eating in a 500 calorie surplus, which is quite substantial. Now, there is a very straightforward and simple solution for this, and this is reverse dieting. And you must do this nice and slowly. And how you can go about doing it is once you drop down once you've dropped down to the body fat percentage that you want, let's just say you're eating 2,000 calories, you would go ahead and every single week you would add an extra 100 to 150 additional calories on top of your cutting calories until your weight is stabilized. So let's just say for week 1, you eat 2,000 calories. That is your baseline. That is what you were eating over the time span of your cut. Week 2, you would eat 2,100 calories, or maybe 2,150 calories. Then the following weeks, so week 3, you would add another 150 calories. So you might be 2,300 calories. And you slowly keep doing this process until your body weight stabilizes and it stays at the exact same level. That is one of the best solutions I found when it came down to actually reverse dieting and making sure I didn't completely lose all my gains over the last couple times that I actually have cut down. So by all means, give it a try. Now for point number 3, your training has to shift with the phase that you are actually shifting into. A really simple way to put it would be cutting is preservation, so actually holding on to what you do currently have. And maintenance is going back into building that initial capacity. Capacity being amount of muscle you can hold. Capacity being the amount of strength that you actually have. Because for a lot of guys, after cutting for maybe 8 to 16 weeks, they still train as if they are cutting. They train with the mindset of preservation and just holding on to what they do currently have, without realizing that they are actually shifting to maintenance. Maintenance is a perfect phase for you to go ahead and begin rebuilding your capacity and begin adding onto it. It's a phase where, of course, you want to maintain your current body fat percentage, but you also want to go ahead and start adding on a little bit more strength. Start building up from that. And at the end of the day, do a full successful body recomp. So a really simple way to go about doing it, and going back onto that last point I said around reverse dieting and giving yourself some more additional calories, when it comes down to it, use those additional calories for your training specifically. So if you eat 2,100 calories split between 4 different meals, so that's 500 calories per meal throughout the week, maybe you can go ahead and have a banana, a very large one, or maybe 2 small bananas before your workout. That's going to be some additional carbs your body has to go ahead and exert itself. So being able to use those extra calories that you get from reverse dieting and actually put it towards your training. So again, you're giving your body the best source of fuel possible so it can actually exert itself and shift away from that mindset of preservation and just holding on to all the muscle that you have, but actually building out your physique and making sure that your body has all the fuel it needs to actually go ahead and build up its capacity. Now, point number 4, and this is something that not a lot of people actually talk about, but it's a psychological phase that you experience when you go from cutting up to maintenance. This goes for me and a lot of other people that I've worked with and talked to. When you finish up a cut, that is your identity. Your identity was, I'm cutting down, I'm going ahead, and I'm actually dropping my body fat percentage. But once that phase ends, you're lost and you're trying to figure out, what do I actually want to do now? You've more so lost an identity around your training style, and not having that clarity can lead into a lot of bad decisions being made in the future. So a really simple solution to actually avoid being in this phase where you're lost and you're not too sure on what to do, and when you are lost and you have a lack of clarity, that just gives you more exposure to making bad choices or things that are going to overall detriment your progress. So an activity that I found I enjoyed doing, and I've seen a lot of other people doing, instead of having something based around your physiology, make it based around a skill, maybe a challenge, and wanting to work towards that. So overall, just think of working towards a goal that isn't body fat related, if that makes sense. Maybe you want to bench 100 kilo. Maybe it's a challenge, like you're wanting to do some kind of endurance race. Maybe it's just a new hobby or a new skill that you found interesting. And then point number 5 is realizing that getting lean is a skill. It is not a finish line. Because for a lot of guys, they treat getting lean as the finish line, whereas it's actually just the start of the entire process. Because everyone wants to be known as that guy who is constantly shredded, the guy who looks awesome in every single photo. They want to be the guy who is known for his aesthetic physique. But the issue is you want to be that guy who is able to actually maintain that aesthetic, maintain that look for a long period of time, not just 2 weeks. So as I mentioned with getting lean and treating it as a skill and not a finish line, understand that the real win with getting lean is being able to go ahead, actually achieve it, so achieve that 9 to 10% body fat, and be able to maintain that at a very good level while still being able to enjoy your life and all the fruits of your labors. It's shifting from treating being lean as a special event to just day-to-day life, and that's just how you look. That is the real win. Now, just to tie back to the initial point I was trying to make, the reason most guys quote unquote fail their cuts and go back to exactly where they were maybe 2 to 3 to 4 months after they actually start the cut isn't because their cuts actually failed. It's because they never actually learned and they didn't have the clarity around what to do next after they've successfully achieved that cut. And I'm hoping that this video shined a spotlight on maybe a situation in your life or a mindset that you had and given you the clarity around how to actually fix it. Because again, ignorance is bliss, right? You can blame all these things on someone else or an external life situation or an external problem that doesn't actually affect you. But we all understand we're all accountable for our own moves and our own current situations. And if you don't like the fact that you put in so much hard work and then you lost all of it straight away, I hope again that this video has shone some light on maybe a thing that you need to work on. Because by all means, me, everyone on Instagram that you see, everyone on YouTube or TikTok, we all have our things we need to work on, and being able to identify what those work-ons are is one of the best gifts we can actually be gifted. So just a quick little closing line. Imagine getting lean as a season, but staying lean is a lifestyle.